Hi, I'm drummer Snappy Smith, just working on my left-hand roll. You know, I was a student of Freddie Gruber's from 1978 through 1980 primarily, and then of course we hung for years after that. But during that time, I was, I think, one of those few select students maybe that he really did an in-depth instruction with. I really wanted to learn some special technique, and so he pretty much tore the engine apart and built it all back together again. And it was a very slow, tedious process, and I got impatient many times with him, and he would say, Pete, if I could just give you a shot and you could be there, I would do it, but it's one drop at a time, slowly filling that cup of water up, whatever. So it was quite an experience. Of course, I'm sure you've all heard many stories about Freddie. It took a lot of tolerance and patience, and I would really work at kind of picking his brains as much as possible and kind of getting through all his BS to get to those really choice memories or bits of knowledge and wisdom that he had about drum technique. So I want to do a series here, kind of going through all the old Buddy Rich books. I recently discovered these. This is my box of books. There's probably about 50 books in there. But there are a select few books that I worked through with Freddie, and I thought it'd be a good exercise for me and for you to kind of go through these books again, kind of review all the exercise and all the little techniques that we did. You know, kind of hindsight, now that I've kind of learned it all and been applying it for years, kind of going through now and looking at it from the other side and really appreciating where it was all going to and how it was all being set up. So I was going to go and kind of start with the Buddy Rich book. This is kind of the primary book everybody started with. And as you'll see, you know, there's just pages and pages of special notations and instructions and comments. You know, as I was going through this, I realized just how crazy Freddie really was. You know, he would start you out on maybe an exercise on page 5, and then say, go to page 64 and do that exercise. And then after that, go to page 5 again, and then after that, go to page 34. But before you do all of that, start on the front inside cover. You know, it was crazy, but you know, he definitely had a plan, and he knew how to use the book to his advantage. After that, you know, the next book you brought in was the Roy Burns book to start developing all the finger control exercises. And again, you know, pages of notations and little phrases that he would, you know, create to kind of tie in with the technique. Another book here, once you start kind of really getting your movements down, then he would start applying that to the drum set. And he would use the Joe Cusato's book, Rhythmic Patterns Around the Drum Set. And this is a great book for all the basic moves around the kit and all the movements and the hand movements that you've kind of learned, the releases and stuff that he taught you on the snare drum. Now you were able to apply, you know, around the kit. Of course, the Colin Bailey book, you know, this was huge. I went through this probably 4 different ways, heel down, heel up, with the hi-hat closed, with the hi-hat open, you name it. The thing is in shreds, but just amazing you know, exercises here and things that he taught me that really made a difference with my foot technique. Then after that, you know, these supplementary books, these secondary books, you know, here's a double drum book. He would use this to really coordinate your snare drum and your bass drum together, tighten that up. The Frank Higgins book, this is really what he would use to teach you how to play good basic rock patterns. And it wasn't what you played as much as how you played it. And it was really, I learned the way of applying his system to all 4 limbs on the drum set. And that's pretty much what Freddie was all about. Kind of a universal technique that all the hands and limbs are using the same technique, coming from the same place, so that everything you played all locked in, was all coordinated, and you know, gave you a better product. Then after that, you know, I started bringing in my own favorite books. This is the famous John Guerin Jazz Rock book. What a great drummer he was. You know, the Wilcoxon books. I got into Wilcoxon for a while there. Here's a great Ed Shaughnessy drum book. So I think by the end of my studies with him, you know, I must have had about 12 books I was bringing in. And again, it was about a 3-year period, and it was a very stable period for him. He had lived on Etiwanda Street. He had his little house. He was very happy there, and it was really a week-by-week instruction with very few kind of short in, breaks in between. He'd go to New York for a while or whatever, a couple of weeks, but really a consistent, regular study time with him. And I feel fortunate to have had that. And I think that because of that, I was able to get into this really detailed instruction from him. So I'm going to start this series, and I'm going to call it the Couch Series, because who doesn't practice on their practice pad on a couch? And it's going to be you and me and a practice pad sitting on the couch, just one-on-one, going through all of these great exercises that Freddie taught me and kind of breaking it down. I'll probably do it in kind of more simplistic kind of exercises, kind of a condensed kind of version of it, but at least give you guys that never had the chance to study with Freddie a chance to kind of get some insight to what he was about. So I hope you'll hang with me for a while. It's going to be a few lessons coming up here. I'll try to do one a week or maybe a couple at a time, but I do hope you'll enjoy it, and I look forward to us getting together on a weekly basis. See you then. Bye.